Hi guys, well today we're going to be taking a look at our very first Intel 11th gen laptop by checking out this MSI Stealth 15M. Now the placement and the configuration of 15M means that it is classified as more of an entry level or possibly even a mid-range solution for those of you who are wanting a mobile unit. And you know, the great thing about this particular model that we're looking at today is that it is really thin and lightweight, as you can see. By tapping into that 11th gen CPU, we now have even greater support for connectivity. 15M comes with Thunderbolt 4 as well as USB 3.2 Gen 2. An RTX 3060 now replaces the GTX 1660 Ti, which was once found in the previous generation of 15M, and this should really amplify the gaming performance. Now for once, the configuration of 15M is almost identical across multiple locations, so you guys can pick it up for around $1,400 in the US, $1,400 in the UK, and then $28.99 in Australia. So that is perhaps dipping into mid-range pricing for a gaming laptop, and it'll be interesting to see what we get, what's on offer really for that particular pricing. Will it be worth considering? Let's find out. Before we begin, today's video is brought to you by ASRock and the Z590 Taichi motherboard. Taichi is ASRock's flagship Intel Z590 offering, and as per usual it comes in with a good assortment of features. It is equipped with the ASRock graphics card holder, which takes the strain off the tail end of the GPU by using a simple bracket which attaches through the board and the motherboard tray. Killer Double Shot Pro is another handy feature which combines the Killer Wireless and Killer Ethernet, allowing them to team up and provide enhanced throughput, and so certain traffic can use just the Wi-Fi while more demanding tasks can use Ethernet. Taichi comes in with multiple M.2 SSD options and introduces PCI Express 4, allowing you to install super fast Gen 4 ready storage. For more details on the ASRock Z590 Taichi, please check out the link in the description. Okay, so this is the 15M. This is a very stylish looking unit, and there has obviously been emphasis placed on the weight and the size of this particular model. MSI are actually marketing this as the world's thinnest 15-inch gaming laptop, and so the design is clean and elegant. The 15 in this laptop's name denotes that we are dealing here with a 15.6-inch laptop. However, here are the actual dimensions for those wanting to know. It is 358.3mm wide, 248mm deep, 16.15mm high, and then on the weight you're looking at around 1.7 kilos. And so the thickness of this laptop and the weight make it thin and lightweight, perfect if you're going to be on the move quite often. Now taking a look at that lid on 15M, it is plastic, and for our particular sample, we are looking here at the carbon grey version. There is also a white variant too. MSI are keeping things discreet with the styling on this laptop by having a non-RGB logo, which we have to say is a nice move as it keeps things looking sleek and stylish. So running down the left edge, we have ventilation for the GPU heatsink and fan, the DC in for the power adapter, a micro SD card slot reader that supports UHS 3, a USB 3.2 Gen 1 port, and a headphone and mic combo port. While over on the other side, we have a Thunderbolt 4 port which supports power delivery, DisplayPort 1.4 or USB 4. We have another Type-C, but that is USB 3.2 Gen 2. Another USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type-A port, HDMI 2.0, and then some additional ventilation for the CPU heatsink and fan. So there is some interesting connectivity with 15M, but not a whole lot of USB Type-A if you require them. And of course, due to the thickness of this laptop, there is no wide gigabit LAN. Instead, you're going to need to rely on Wi-Fi 6. Now around the back, while we don't have any additional ports, we do have some small incisions which offer some tiny bit of ventilation for the CPU and the GPU. If we turn the laptop over, we have two large rubber strips and then some in the middle to provide some clearance to act as feet and to prevent slipping around. There is also a large portion of mesh towards the back of the laptop for those internal components to breathe. Details on the SKU and the serial code can also be found on the underside. Those are going to be important if you need to reach out to tech support. And so let's take off this back panel for a look at the internal design and the hardware. And so here is an overview. And as you can see, 15M adopts a design which has all of those components on the top side, and without detaching heatsinks, fan cables, a load of screws and components, it isn't possible to see them, and so we'll have to settle for what we can see. So the CPU inside our laptop is based on the 11th gen Tiger Lake architecture. It is the Intel Core i7-11375H, which is a 4-core 8-thread processor, which can turbo boost all the way up to 5 GHz. And then the graphics delivery is handled by the NVIDIA RTX 3060 GPU, and that is a Max-Q design. As the 3060 comes in with 6GB of VRAM, and in the Ampere stack, this one here is a mid-range GPU, but it still should give us decent results at 1080p. If you stick around to the end of the video, we're going to run some benchmarks and see how it handles the gaming. So both the CPU and the GPU have their dedicated heat sinks and fans. This is MSI's Cooler Boost 5 thermal design, which makes use of 2 fans and 6 copper heat pipes. You can see on the GPU side we've got some additional heatsink cooling. And again, towards the end of our video, we're going to check out what the thermal performance is like, so stick around for that. For the system memory, we have 16GB of Samsung DDR4, which operates at 3200. That is in dual channel. Sadly, we can't get a shot of that because it's on the other side, which does make upgrading a bit problematic. Thankfully, 16GB should be enough for the majority of users. For storage, we have just one drive, and it is a PCI Express driven M.2 using Gen 3. For this, we can actually get to it. It is in the bottom corner there. So this is a 1TB Kingston M.2 SSD, which is capable of read and write performance of over 2500 megasecond. And that is the only slot for storage, and therefore takes sole responsibility for the disk space. Hopefully your data, including your games library, doesn't surpass 800GB. The battery inside this laptop is a tiny 3-cell unit, which is 52 watt-hour. That gives around an hour of typical usage, which I'll be honest is not a lot at all. Something that you should be aware of, and not everyone is, if you don't use the charger while the system is being used for high intensity tasks and gaming, then you will get a performance drop. So if you want to keep the performance and the frame rates at their optimum, make sure you aren't running off the battery. For networking, we have just Wi-Fi on 15M, and it comes from this Intel module here, which gives us the Intel Wi-Fi 6 or 802.11ax, and we also get Bluetooth 5.1. While we're on this side, we have the 2 speakers, which are 2 watt, and those are bottom facing, unlike other MSI units, which have the allocation at the top, and so that does impede the sound quality a little. Now the screen on our 15M is a lovely 15.6-inch 144Hz IPS level display. As you would imagine at this hardware spec and screen size, we have just 1080p as an option, and that is a very wise move. Adding in a 144Hz screen is excellent at this level, as it transforms the user experience by making it buttery smooth. And while it isn't the thinnest that we've seen, there is also a slim bezel around the edge, and we get a 720p webcam in the center with respective microphones. Turning to the keyboard, we have an RGB backlit design, which is fixed to just a single color, but it is dimmable. The layout is based on a QWERTY design and has a series of custom buttons across the top, which assist with the functionality. And then finally, we have the touchpad, which blends into the palm rest area. This is centralized and lacks those independent left and right clickers, since the idea with this laptop is to keep things nice and compact. But what we can say is the touchpad works well and it is accurate. Okay, so that is the overview of 15M as far as the design and features, and now it's time to check out some performance. So the plan is to firstly go into Windows 10 from a cold boot to see how quick that is. And then we're going to see what the read and write performance is like for that SSD. After that, we're going to jump into some games to check out the performance of the 3060. We're going to go with 1080p, but with this being a mid-range GPU, we're not going to go with Ultra as we usually would. Instead, we're going to go with the high detail preset. We'll monitor the temperatures and reveal those at the end. And the very latest drivers have been installed, which are currently 46663. All of our footage, by the way, is going to be captured with the AVerMedia Ultra Gamer to avoid eating into those frame rates. Okay, so first of all, let's boot our MSI laptop and see how quick we get into Windows 10 from a cold boot. Well, that concludes our look at the Stealth 15M. This one here comes in with the 11th gen Core i7 CPU, 16GB of DDR4 and the RTX 3060. And that hardware spec means that it is quite a capable machine for the mid-range price point which it comes in at. As you just saw with the gaming performance and those gaming tests we ran, with the detail preset at high and of course the native 1080p resolution, you guys can expect frame rates to exceed that of 60, and it may even hit those triple figures. There are of course always those exceptions with certain demanding titles, Cyberpunk obviously being one of those. So it should be able to tackle anything you pretty much chuck at it, and you're still being able to get some of that eye candy. And it's also lovely to see that we've got that 144Hz display, the IPS display, which gives you that super smooth experience both in and out of game. There aren't a whole heap of features, but we do get Thunderbolt 4 and USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C, which is a surprise, but it is disappointing to see a lack of USB Type-A ports. And further to that, not being able to upgrade the memory, while not a deal breaker, it is unfortunate. Now, I had a problem when I initially started using this laptop, and we think it was down to Intel Iris and Dragon Center driver and software combo. MSI tech support were amazing. They managed to identify the problem, fix it for me, and that support that I received was the standard support that a customer would typically receive. And so that is really encouraging to be on the receiving end of that, to be able to experience it. And so a massive shout out to Wayne from MSI Australia for getting me up and running. So guys, what do you think of this 15M that we've been taking a look at today? Is it something that you perhaps might be considering? Is it in your price range and you're looking at this sort of stuff at the moment? Let's start some discussion in the comment section below. If you want more benchmarks outside of that what we've looked at today, there is of course going to be more benchmarks over in our web review. Link for that is going to be on the screen and in the description. Thanks for watching today, guys. Please share this video with anyone that might find it useful. Show your support by liking the video, subscribing if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one.